Welcome back to the Orchid Hut. My name is Dana, and today's video is going to be about the section or type of dendrobiums by the name of Callista. Now, there are 5 to 6 different recognized sections of dendrobiums depending on the source that you read. And previously, I made a video on the Phalaenanthe section, which is the Phalaenopsis type dendrobium, as well as the Latoria type dendrobiums. And later on, towards the end of this video, I will put a link to those 2 previously made videos in case you would like to go watch those as well. But today we're going to focus on the Callista section. Now, this section became recognized around the early 1900s, and there are only about 10 species of Dendrobium orchids that belong to the Callista section. Callista came from a Greek word, Callistos, which translated to very beautiful. And when we talk about the blooms of these dendrobiums in a little bit, you'll be able to understand why that Greek word was used. Now, the species of Callista dendrobiums can be found of India, Myanmar, Thailand, the IndoChina area of Cambodia and Laos and Vietnam, as well as the Malaysian peninsula. They are warmish intermediate type growers in the summer, prefer a cooler winter, so they work well in my environment because they can tolerate the heat that I have here in Southeast Texas, but I would be bringing these indoors for what I consider to be a soft winter's rest, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. My 2 species examples of this section of dendrobium is this cute little dendrobium by the name of aggregatum. It has been renamed back to Lindleyi, even though the tag says aggregatum. And the other example that we will be talking about as part of this video is the species Farmeri. Now, usually these orchids have pendulous hanging blooms, with multiple blooms on the hanging pendulum. They are considered to be some of the most brightly colored dendrobiums. Many of them are bright yellow with gold centers. Some of them are white with really gold centers. My particular Farmeri is a little bit different because it is pink combined with the gold, as you saw on the tag just a little while ago. But in addition to the pendulous hanging cluster of blooms, these orchids also have 2 other structural differences from some of the other dendrobiums. The first is that they tend to be a little bit more compact, a little bit smaller in size, especially compared to the Phalaenanthe type dendrobiums or some of the really large Latoria type dendrobiums. So space-wise, these are really nice orchids to have because they're not going to grow into massive tall plants. The other thing about the Callista dendrobiums is that their canes are structured a bit differently. You'll notice on my 2 examples that the cane almost has what looks like a bulb on it. And the bulb is not smooth like what you would find in other dendrobiums. This Farmeri, for example, has a cane that has kind of a 4-sided bulb on it, and it's very angular. It has 4 distinct sides, almost with 90-degree angles, going around the cane. Now, this particular new growth right here does not show that cane characteristic, but when they become full size, as in on this other side of the plant, you can tell that the cane has 4 sides and it's got a very angular appearance. Now, at the top of these plants is typically 1 or 2 leaves. This one I've had in my care for about, I would say, a year, and at the very end of winter it did start to develop a bloom. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, it did start to develop a bloom right here underneath the leaf on this bulb, but it blasted, unfortunately, and it didn't bloom for me. So I'll be hoping for better luck next time after it's adjusted to my environment a bit more. This Lindleyi also has very angular bulb-like canes, and it has more than the 4-sided bulb like on the farmeri, but still sides that are sort of very angular going around the mature bud, or the mature cane rather. For this plant, I haven't had it in my care for very long, but this is a new growth, and you can tell it has not developed the bulb or the angular features of the bulb. And then around on this side, there's another new growth right here. So it is growing from multiple sides of the plant, which is a good thing. Okay, so care for these orchids. During the summer, when they're growing, they do like heavier fertilizer, they do like warm temperatures, they do like bright yet very sheltered light, so they don't want to be in direct sun. So bright shaded light is great for these orchids. They like high humidity. Of course, air circulation is always good. And they, I would tend to say that they like to be relatively frequently watered. So watering in my environment would probably be about every 2 days. So a little bit dry is fine, but if you begin to see these large bulbs beginning to shrivel, then you know that more water is needed. Now, during the winter, they like to have, again, what I mentioned earlier, is a soft winter's rest. So a decrease in temperature, a little bit of a decrease in light, definitely a decrease in fertilizer, just enough to kind of get them through without becoming dehydrated. And then as soon as you see blooms develop or new growth develop, then that's the trigger to begin more frequent watering, fertilizer, brighter light, etc. Okay, so I think that wraps up this short video about the Callista section of Dendrobiums. Oftentimes you can find in the nursery primary crosses of 2 different species of orchids, which would also be a great way to add one of these to your collection, or look for a dendrobium that has a species Callista type dendrobium in its parentage, so that you can see some of these really unique characteristics for these brightly colored, unique dendrobiums. Thank you so much for your time today and for choosing to watch this video. If you enjoyed it or learned something new, please give it a thumbs up. The subscribe button will be coming up in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and I will talk to you next time.